On the way there, I got arrested by the police for being a PKK terrorist.
Oh my gosh.
Questioned for an hour, trying desperate to explain to them that my knowledge of Kurdish was limited, and that I was Scottish. And eventually they let me go, and I came out of the police station down the stairs where there was a car waiting, and they got me in there, and they were the PKK. So they took me away for another hour to ask why I was in the police station. When I was at Ur and up at Nineveh, there were floods. So it's pretty devastating if you live on a floodplain. So you tell a story of what happened when the flood came.
All right, greetings humans. I'm super excited for today's episode. We've got David Connolly, a seasoned archaeologist with over 40 years of experience, known for his fieldwork across Europe, Central Asia, Turkey, and the Middle East, correct? And he is the founder of Badger, British Archaeologist, Jobs and Resources, an independent organization supporting the archaeology profession in the UK and Europe. Thank you so much, man, for joining the multiverse. How are you today, my friend?
I am, apart from the outside, it's sunny, and the inside is sunny as well. It's absolutely brilliant to be here.
Perfect. And let's start with where are you? You just told us offline, but where are you located and where did you grow up, man?
Well, I'm not expecting people to come to my house, but if you'd like to send presents and checks, then you can come to the wonderful Scottish borders town of Selkirk, which is around about an hour south of Edinburgh.
Okay.
Which is where I'm originally from. And as you've noted in my voice, I am Scottish, but I'm doing my best to speak a form of English that everyone will understand.
You're doing a great job. I think everyone will get it. Tell us a little bit about the little town. Is it a little town you're in?
It's a tiny little town. About 7,000 people.
Okay.
When I arrived, I think I halved the average age.
Okay.
Oh, that's cruel. That's cruel. It's an absolutely fabulous town. It's a walking town in a way because I've got three fabulous valleys nearby, and they just speak to you of archaeology and past. There's standing stones and Roman forts and Iron Age hill forts and Bronze Age burial mounds everywhere. So
I think we have to come to your town.
Come to Selkirk. It's wonderful.
Well, I did visit Scotland for my first time. We went to the UK and then, well, you're in the UK, but we went to London and then we took a train to brain farting, but not Edinburgh, but the other big one up north.
Glasgow, Aberdeen.
I think it was Glasgow, yeah. And then we spent some time there, went to some historical sites there. Then we went to Isle of Skye, which was really maybe the most beautiful place I've ever been, and I've been to some beautiful places. Have you been up there?
I've been to the Isle of Skye. It is absolutely stunning. It's going up the west coast is like being in the Bahamas with wind chill.
With wind chill, yeah. We hired a wonderful gentleman because I was having a lot of mobility issues at the time, so he took us like all around, and it was like cold and windy, but absolutely glorious. And I'll never forget, it got so many great pictures and stuff like that. And so let's start there with you grew up around basically ancient history and archaeological sites and stuff. So as a kid, did that tickle your interest? And is that how you got into it? Or tell us like your first, excitement about archaeology.
Good question. Fortunately, I had a granny who reminded me what happened. A good Scots granny. She spoke Scots rather than English, which is brilliant as well.
Interesting.
So I discovered at the age of 4.5. I know, can't believe it. This is a body which has had a lot of brutality done to it over the years. 60 years old and
looking great.
I was not fishing for compliments, but that'll do. I was 4.5 years old, and it seems I went into my granny's back garden, and I found a little head, a little skull of well, a budgie skeleton.
A bird. Okay.
So off I went up to my my mum's room, and there they had all the sort of the cutlery, and there was a good cutlery that came out for Christmas, and I took out this fish knife, went back down to the garden and excavated this budgie skeleton, brought it up and laid it out on the table.
Wow.
And I got my granny had a special form of punishment for things like this, which was she made you stand on a chair. This sounds so barbaric now, but she made me stand on a chair and she put her hand between my legs and went whap, 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 whap.
That's so interesting. Was that like was that normal around there? Like was that a sort of like, or was that
Probably.
just your granny?
Don't try this at home, kids.
Don't mess with that granny.
No, she was tough. But it was like it was just the discovery, and it was like, what is this? And piecing it together. So that's me 4.5. I was bitterly disappointed that I wasn't growing up faster. My mum, I have so much to thank the women in my life. It was my mum. My father, shall we say, was a difficult character.
Uh-huh.
But my mother really just sort of took me, and she took me to Stonehenge when I was 10. She took me along the Hadrian's Wall with the Romans when I was 7. We would go up to, I've got this fabulous picture of myself. Unfortunately, you're not going to see it. I'm not going to show you any photographs of me as a cute baby.
Oh, next time.
Well, yeah, you're also talking about the woman who knitted me a swimming costume, which went horribly wrong.
I love that. Wrong. Did you wear it?
I did wear it. There's a photograph of me in it, sort of standing proud like this. Ran into the sea, and it just goes horribly wrong because it soaked up almost half the ocean. It was shocking.
Is so cute. That's funny.
But she took me places. She took me places, and she just sort of let me see these sort of exciting places that just made me want more and more to be an archaeologist. And I had this amazing book, and it was called the World 100 World Mysteries or something like that. And it was like a book from 1900s. And our house had a Bible, the World Book of Mysteries, and Mr. Twiddle Rides Again, a fabulous Enid Blyton book. And it was this 1900s book where I would thumb through it, and there were the pyramids, or there was Pompeii, or there was Cambodia and Angkor Wat, and it was like, wow, I want to do this. This is what I am. I found recently a school book from when I was 8, and I haven't actually, my spelling's not got any better, but it says, when I grow up, I want to be an archaeologist and a scientist, and I will take people and we will find things. It's like,
how old were you again with that?
About 8 years old.
That's so cute. I wanted to play.
That clear for me at that age.
I wanted to play Major League Baseball.
And look at you now.
Yes. Yeah, look at me now. I do still participate in youth sports and whatnot. I coach and whatnot. So I'm doing a little bit of something like that. But it's so admiring. I don't know if even that's the right word. It's a beautiful story to have such a passion for it at a young age, and how you describe being influenced by the women in your life, and that kind of thing. I want to hear about, because I've been to Stonehenge, and we went early in the morning, like on a special access trip before like the troves of buses start showing up, and it's almost like a theme park now. But back then, what was it like? What was visiting there like? Did they have it roped off like they do now and whatnot?
I know. Yes, we went by carriage, and there was a young man.
Wow.
No,
you got me. I thought you got, because you said you had knitted swimming wear, so I was like, oh, the carriage made sense.
It's true. I should warn you, just be very careful of maybe, and I will promise I'll try not to, is being Scottish, we're appalling. And I was on the Nile once, and I was wearing a frock coat, which I loved. I fancied myself, but I wore a frock coat, and I had sort of breeches. And these 2 American tourists came up and went, "Excuse me, where are you?" And I went, "I am actually First Lieutenant Thaddeus Grindy Farquhar, His Majesty's ship Incontinent." And they're going, "Oh my God."
Well, I'm gullible, so I'll try my best.
Try not to
but
do it.
You feel free. I'm going to try my best to like catch it.
So Stonehenge. It was different. I mean, you could actually get in amongst the stones. You could be amongst them.
You can't do that anymore.
You can on special access. So I was able to do so first thing in the morning with about a group of 20 people. But you're like, they're watching you. There's guards there. I think they're armed. So yeah, it's interesting. But so you're able to get amongst the stones. You're 10 years old. What was that feeling like?
This is something I've wrestled with, because professional archaeologists in Britain have a love-hate relationship to Stonehenge.
Okay.
Because it's like a black hole that sucks in everything to it. And when you've been to things like, if you get to Orkney and you go to the stones of
I want to go there.
Dennis, you will go, wow, wild wind whipping around you, the sea spray coming across your face, and not a sign of one single gift shop. But when you go to Stonehenge, you have to sort of, what you do is you end up sort of being tipped into these stones, and you're going, well, this is nice. But you don't realize the massive landscape that it sits in, the huge landscape that it sits in, what it meant to people. And the problem we have just now is Stonehenge is so tied up in, how do I put this politely? Shall we say slightly right of center politics. It becomes a symbol of England, symbol of indigenous culture. And you're going, it meant something to the people who built it. It was amazingly important to them. But what does it mean to people now is not what it meant to people then.
Right.
And I was fortunate, like the age of 10, not burdened by any of these deep thoughts. I'm just thinking, wow, I'm at Stonehenge. It's a site, and there's so many sites in the world, but Stonehenge is the site of Britain, until you start to wander and find amazing sites all over the country. So Stonehenge impacted me in as much as it was an amazing place to be. When I look back on it, it was a pivotal, that's the word. Point. Try saying that after. Point in my development as an archaeologist, because I started seeing things for what they were, not for what I was told that I should feel. If that makes sense. It's like when you went to Stonehenge, did you feel what you were supposed to feel, or did you feel something?
Well, I felt in awe, because I always wanted to go there since I was a child. Similarly, like just seeing it in books and on documentaries and stuff. I remember there was a bunch of crows there that felt like, I'm not a woo-woo guy, but I felt like those crows knew something. I don't know, because I just think those crows probably lived there like a long time, like But I was trying not to indulge my I want to believe part of myself, and just try to see it for what it was. But I felt in awe. That's the word I can use. But I don't know that I was thinking too much about like what it meant to the current population versus what it meant to the people who actually built it. I think more I was feeling it intuitively, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It's I mean, I'll throw something at you exciting. There's just been a new interpretation panel at these things called recumbent stone circles up in northeast Scotland, and the panel stops. Panels mansplain all the time. If you want to laugh, they'll do it everywhere. Go and watch a couple, especially go up to an interpretation panel. And the man will inevitably turn to the woman and go, and she can sort of go, I can read, I can actually read it.
The mansplain. I wonder why that happened. Like some people just do that like automatically or something. I don't know. It's like part of. That's a strange human tick.
We should do an episode about that, like unpacking
mansplaining.
And it's amazing. It's like you sort of go, it says here that the stones are made of stone. You go, really? Anyway, this panel really tickled my fancy, definitely, because it told people what we know and why we know that and how we know it. So we know that these recumbent stone circles date to around about 3000 BC to around about 1500 BC. That's sort of the area, the ballpark figure. We know that because of the excavations, because of the dating, blah, blah. We know that the big flat stone that's on its side, in between two uprights, catches the moon between its standstills. So if you, I know this is going to blow your, good old archaeoastronomy I got involved in, so that I never knew this until I learned about it, is the moon sort of goes backwards and forwards, and it goes until it's here, and that's a minor standstill, when it then goes backwards and forwards like this, and you got your major standstill. And this is what the stone circles are about. 100%. That's what they do. But then we, in the interpretation panel, say to people, how would you approach the circle? How would you do it? Where would you stand in the stone circle? What did you see from the stone circle? So it's asking questions of people so that they can experience it and feel that they are actually part of it, instead of just being, spoon-fed.
I love that. That's really cool. What if history isn't linear? What if civilizations rise and fall again and again? Discover the shocking truth in Deja Vu, Has Everything Already Been? By my friend Alexander Cheshkovich. Grab your copy now on Amazon. The link is in the description below. And subscribe to Dave's Multiverse on YouTube, Spotify, and Rumble today so you don't miss a thing. That seems like a good way to engage people versus like mansplaining. And then it gets people sort of thinking outside the box a little, because nobody asked me that when I was at Stonehenge, for example. I think if you were to ask me that question, like initially, I think I'd want to stand like right in the middle. But I'm betting that like to the people who built them, there was multiple places you could stand to get multiple, multiple types of information and stuff like that.
I mean, they're doing stuff on acoustic archaeology as well. And it's how things appear to you on the outside can really change your impression of the place. How sound goes, how it all does it. And that goes back to, take yourself into a cave. If you've ever been into a cave with a flickering lamp and the sounds echoing around it, it becomes a different experience. And there is something to be said about experiential archaeology as opposed to experimental. I did it.
I'm going to write that down.
Experiential archaeology. Will you to talk about that a little bit more, the experiential archaeology thing and what that means?
Please.
Okay. Well, it is, again, it's slightly controversial. Slightly controversial. Oh, good. Oh, God. It's the end of my career, darlings.
Fuck it.
Experiential archaeology is, there is this sort of, the muddy boot is called as well, the muddy boot, where you cannot tell something unless you've been somewhere. So it's all very well. I mean, I have to rewind for a moment and just say that you know how you can talk about archaeologists. Archaeologists are, I'm an archaeologist, the professor's an archaeologist, the bio person is an archaeologist, the archaeoastronomer is an etc. So
what about the anthropologist? Is that technically an archaeologist too, the cultural anthropologist?
Lovely people.
Yes.
But I mean, that's very different. In America, how archaeology is a subset of anthropology, which is fascinating as well. But yeah, there's all different ways of actually looking at it. And one of the things which I really find works for me is you can't talk about a place really based upon everything you just read.
Yeah, I agree. You can talk about it, but you're not fully informed because you haven't experienced it.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, you could say I can't talk about Yonaguni because I've not been there.
Okay.
Well, I would say I could because I know enough about. However, it would be beneficial if I was actually looked at it and went, actually, it is great. But for example, I was walking along a Roman road recently, and we have this Roman road which goes past a place called Tremontium Museum in Melrose, fabulous as well. And I was walking along this Roman road, and it's amazing. It's 10 meters wide. I don't know how much of that in Imperial. 10 yards wide.
I'm Canadian. We're both Canadian, so it's all good. We get
good.
it. Yeah.
10 meters wide, and the stretch that I was on was about maybe, I don't know, 10 kilometers long.
Okay.
Dead straight. And as you're walking it, you get the feel of why they put the road there. Not here, but there. What they saw when they were walking along it.
Huh.
And so you're experiencing the same thing that a Roman soldier would feel. When I was up at Brodgar, Ness of Brodgar, which is one of the most fabulous sites that's been, Neolithic site. If you don't know anything about the Ness of Brodgar, please look it up. Nick Card is possibly one of the nicest archaeological directors that ever there was, and is very kind and opens up to everyone. But the Ness of Brodgar, when you stand in it, it makes sense than just listening to it or hearing about it or seeing a photograph.
What is it? What is briefly?
Ness of Brodgar is a collection of, it's older than Stonehenge as well.
Sweet.
It's, and I'm contemporary with it. And it's a sort of a series of sort of large stone buildings. Now, the reason they're stone buildings is because they didn't have trees, basically. There's a very scarce resource. So all made of stones, and they evolve over time. And they're basically a little bit weird. They're not domestic. It became clear they were not domestic because you don't put your fireplace in the doorway. Bad place for a fireplace. Until you realize that what you're doing is you're stepping over this smoldering, smoky type thing. And so you're passing from one space into another space. I'm going to use that word, and damn it, I'm going to be happy with it, is ritual.
Okay.
You're in a ritual space.
Yeah.
There was a standing stone stump in the middle of it as well, which doesn't work anymore when you have the buildings around it, but it's it's just awesome. It's an awesome site right next to the Ness of Brodgar, right next to the Brodgar stones, where every one of the standing stones comes from a different part of the island. So this is where, again, you see how imagination comes.
Yes.
You stand there and you can then see, there is the family from over here bringing their stone to erect, to be part of the whole, to be part of the community. I'm getting all breathy and excited here, but
that makes me happy.
It's being there, seeing the view, walking the road, understanding what it is. Because you can then sort of go, actually, yes, I can see, I understand why they did it here.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to sort of take yourself out of touristy mode and really be present to do that, right? I mean, because otherwise you're just like moving from gift shop to gift shop, you know?
Too true. I mean, the same for archaeologists. I'm a technical archaeologist, so I went to university, I promise. I made it as far as second year twice. I think 2 weeks into my second year, the second time, I turned to the lecturer and just said, I said to them, I mean, let's be honest, I was very arrogant. And I turned to him and said, why do you stop reading about it and get out there and do it? And off I stopped. Which in retrospect was a bit stupid, but it made me the man I am today, where you can switch off a little bit and actually sort of, use your imagination in a positive way. I think we'll get onto that later, where imagination is an incredibly important tool, as long as you can then bring it back down to earth and marry it onto the facts and the figures and the data and shape it into a narrative which will change constantly. But
I think that's a really important point. I see that sort of on these divergent sides of, history, where like some people are all imagination, some people are all fact, and then they go like this online. And so I like the marrying of those two. So you left university, and then what kind of challenges did you face, like getting into archaeology, if any, and like getting into the field and stuff like that?
I'll go back a little bit as well, because you'll love this. I was 13, and my darling mother foolishly sent me off to work in a cave in the border of England and Wales called the Wye Valley.
Interesting.
With this
work in a cave.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's amazing.
And I was only 13. I discovered the joys of cider, and I worked for this guy called Dr. Tom Rogers from Toronto University. Cool. Little did we know that in fact he was a doctor of modern dance. But
wow,
just throwing doctor around.
Anyway, we did actually have a good time, because after when I came back from that, and it was like, okay, and we were looking at rock art, and we did actually dig some Paleolithic. We did do some Paleolithic archaeology. And then I went off to live with him in France when I was 14. And my poor mother, she sent me off with 30 whole pounds to last me for the 2 months I was going to be there. And I had drunk it all by the time I got to Paris.
Of course you did. That's what I would have done.
But he also molded my head into, I came up with this idea that Paleolithic man was able to use copper, because we'd found malachite fragments. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, okay, if you believe that, write me a paper. And it wasn't the best paper in the world, admittedly. I was only 14.
Right. So.
But I wrote this paper. I explained why I thought that. And he then sat me down over a bottle of wine and absolutely ripped me to pieces. Totally ripped me to pieces. I'm in tears. And he says, did you learn from this? What did you learn? Everything I did was a lesson with him. And I said, I don't know, you're a horrible man. He went, no, what you learned was that you didn't believe in what you had said. If you had believed in it, then you would have been able to counter every one of my objections. And even if you hadn't been, and I'd found an objection that you didn't have an answer to, then you would have gone, I'll have that, I'll take that. That's criticism, which will be useful to me finding out whether that's true or not, and move it forward. So that's what I learned from him. It was a good lesson. I keep it today.
Well, having a mentor that challenges you and makes you, learn is important. Instead of just telling you what they think, they have you think instead.
And he also taught me to do some dancing. But
there you go.
My question: was there dancing?
There was dancing and swords. It was amazing.
Wow.
So that's why when I get to university, I've been on excavations. I've learned the theory. I know how to do illustrations and all these things. And so arrogance was my middle name. I didn't need people to tell me. And I was sort of doing stuff with Professor, I won't say his name, but I took apart his theory about iron production in Britain. Just took it apart. Which was a bad thing to do in a class, a lesson. However, I left that and I went to the town of York in England, which is a fabulous old town. And I signed up with the York Archaeological Trust. By now I'm about 18, I think, okay. I'm an 18-year-old. I arrive and go, hello, my name's David. And they go, great, we'll see you tomorrow. And I go, that's good. Where do I live? And they went, I don't know. I've not got this one through. So I went to a pub, met up with some people. I had a rat as well. I had a rat on my shoulder. Forgot to mention him.
A pet rat?
Pet rat called Mogadon.
Long bottom style?
He was lovely.
What was his name again?
Bobadon.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I need a
Sometimes
picture of that.
Bobadon had a pet human. But,
You're painting a very good picture here. I'm loving this.
so, but I'm sitting in the pub, and fortunately, some students at the nearby university said, "Who are you?" And I went, "I'm Rat." And they went, "That's great. And what about the human?" I know that's and I stayed with them, and so I learned. I then went to work at York, and I learned, and I became a planner, and I had that. My special skill was 1 to 20, 1 to 10. I could see distances. I could draw. I was very good at drawing plans and sections. And when you do that, you actually then get the bigger picture. So that's a cracker. That's another thing that I noticed as well. It's like a lot of people, and archaeologists included in this, they're so focused on a thing. You don't see the big thing. So I love photographs I see on Twitter, for example, of a bit of a stone going, "How is this stone possible?" And I go, "I have no idea. Could you move back a bit and show me the rest?"
Yeah, and maybe go walk around the site for a little bit too and experience it. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone has the resources to do that. I understand, and so it is nice to have, like, YouTube videos of people going to these sites and walking about. Those are some of my favorite, because I can't go to Cambodia like this year. You know what I mean? But yeah, so you're 18, and you're getting into the digs and stuff like that. You've been everywhere, like Europe, as I mentioned, Europe, Central Asia, Turkey, and the Middle East. Can you kind of lead us through that journey a little bit? I know you got some pictures for us and stuff.
I do.
Like
I mean, should I? I'll throw up some pictures so that you don't just get to see my sort of ever reddening face.
Well, you're a handsome fella, so it's all good.
But I'll do that. What I'll do is I'll put up. Let's start in. Hopefully you can see that.
I think you went more red when I called you handsome.
What you're seeing now is, and this is what it's about, is my first wife. The problem of my life is I have had many wives. My first wife was at Liverpool University, and we went to Jordan. And from there, we went to Turkey, and we were on the banks of the Euphrates.
Wow.
And I'm really getting into it. By the time I'm now about 20 years old. And this is a life that you just cannot imagine. And it's like the book that I had from childhood. This is a Kurdish wedding, Kurdish drummers. I can still hear the beat of the drum. And I danced with them until morning, until I was in an ecstatic trance.
That's
amazing.
Was
absolutely amazing. And you're living in houses like this, houses that haven't changed. I mean, there's no difference between these houses really and the houses of the Neolithic of Çatalhöyük. These are the places that I'm sort of realizing that I want more of this, and archaeology is a passport for me to go to these places, because I had skills, and that would then take me to just awesome places. This is the border of Iran.
Oh my gosh.
Here I am. The Kurds have just the PKK have attacked.
This is in the 80s then? 80s?
That's mid 80s.
Yeah, so there was a lot of conflict at that time there. Yeah.
Oh, it was great. I mean, it was great fun. There was danger. You're young and you're stupid.
It sounds like an Indiana Jones film.
True.
Yeah. What are we looking at? What is this thing?
It's actually a sort of a caravanserai palace on the way between the Ottomans into Iran and Persia.
Wow. How old is it?
This one dates to, I think it's about 13th, 14th century.
Amazing.
Do not ask me to spell Dubai, is it?
And is the landscape all like this same geology?
Yep. It's hot. It's a rough, hard place. when you get towards it, and then you get up and over, and you're into the green valleys again. It's just stunning. I got when I was here, I was arrested by the Turkish police for. Fortunately, by this time, I got a girlfriend, and she had an unfortunate incident, shall we say, in her tummy.
Okay.
It was not going well for anyone, so I got sent out for yogurt. And on the way there, I got arrested by the police for being a PKK terrorist.
Oh my gosh!
Questioned for an hour, trying desperate to explain to them that my knowledge of Kurdish was limited, and that I was Scottish. And eventually they let me go, and I came out of the police station down the stairs where there was a car waiting, and they got me in there, and they were the PKK. So they took me in for another hour to ask why I was in the police station. And so when I eventually got home and to the hotel, the poor woman was still in the toilet anyway. But
oh my gosh, did the yogurt help? Yeah,
the yogurt did help.
That's one of those things like what you don't think about when you're like doing traveling like that, and you know, human biology happens, and occasionally you get tripped up like stuff like that. But that is wow. Were you scared when you got arrested, or are you just
well, again, you're young and you're really stupid, and you can believe you can get away with anything. And I hold the record, I think, for being arrested in every country I've been to.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, this is where I'm starting to get. I'm completely bitten. I've been to the desert. I've been to Turkey, and I get an offer from. I'm sitting in Scotland at my mum's house, and I get a phone call from Professor Watkins, who is the coolest dude that ever walked these streets, and he says, "Rat, do you want to come to Iraq?"
Rat.
And I say, "Okay." And
Yeah,
he says, "You leave Monday," and off I went. And
I've been.
There, have you been to Iraq?
Yeah, I was a U.S. Army soldier between 2004 and 2012. So my experience there was a little weird. I'll put it that way. But I have crossed the Tigris River a bunch of times and things like that. So I've been to that ancient space. It's
and as soon as you get there, I mean, it was the time of Saddam. 1990, you might remember, was a good year to be in Iraq. 1990 August is not a good year to be in Iraq. We were there just to sort of. This is Tel Afar up near Mosul, and I had such a hoot. I had a great time. We got arrested by the Mahabharat again for being spies, and we had to get a letter. We got a letter came from Saddam Hussein to the secret police to let us go, but we didn't know where the secret police were because it was a secret. So
holy shit!
We then had
a letter from Saddam himself. Oh my god!
No, they really are archaeologists. I mean, I knew where all the Scud missiles were for God's sake, but
you don't give off spy vibes. I guess that would make you a good spy, though.
Like total Indiana Jones vibes, and that sounds like something he would get in the middle of. So
it's not my fault.
What are we looking at here?
I know. The place we lived in, Tel Afar, was where the Tel Afar incident happened, where the entire British ambassador and the garrison were wiped out. Back in about 1920.
Wow.
Jolly good. But we didn't get wiped out. We left. But not until we had found this. And you're probably looking at that and going, what's that mean? What's this?
I think post holes, maybe. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
They are grinding stones. And that stone comes from southern Turkey. You might know southern Turkey for another large sort of megalithic type of site.
Oh yeah, Baalbek, which might be getting blown up right now. By the way,
Baalbek. Oh good God! Oh.
They're dropping missiles very close to Baalbek right now, which is very upsetting to me. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, this is at the time, and this is how it's always a continuum. At the time, this was the oldest stone house in the world. A place called Kermesdere. And we had to leave due to circumstances. So you'll see that hole in the middle of it. That was me desperately trying to see what was underneath the oldest stone house in the world. And there was another stone house
Oh, of course.
My mistake. Göbekli Tepe. You were
Göbekli
talking
Tepe.
about. Yeah. My bad.
I'll let you off. It's late or morning or early.
There's a few tepes over there now.
Yeah.
But this is, I mean, when you realize that this dates to around about 9,500 years old.
Holy moly.
And what we found were plaster floors with skulls embedded in them. And in the middle were little plaster and sort of stone T-shaped columns.
Huh.
And so you're looking at something which is of a similar, what's the word I would use, sort of ideology, a similar sort of conception of, the T-shaped pillar is important. It's anthropogenic. And this is down near Mosul, while up in Göbekli Tepe, they're doing something a little bit different. It's a bit older, but it's part of the same idea. So you're starting to get an idea of what's happening. So it's really exciting, and this is where I get. If you want to know what floats my boat, what gets me up in the morning, is I don't know what I'm going to do next, and I'll get brought in to do these things. Because although I'm an arrogant sod, but damned handsome, I've got skills. Have you seen that? Was it Liam Neeson? I have a particular set of skills.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about this? The T-shaped pillars, were they like intentionally filled in like Göbekli Tepe?
Well, this is what's happening at this time. That's that good question. These T-shaped pillars are only standing maybe about a meter high. They're made of plaster, but the building is infilled, and then another building is slapped down next to it, or in it, or on top of it.
Okay.
And we talk about ritual closure a lot in archaeology, and a ritual closure is usually when this was the house of my grandfather or my grandmother. Why not my grandmother? And so now that she is dead and my mother is dead, we will now let them lie and let them leave in peace. And we will build our house next to it or on it. It's part of a continuation. And so you'll see this thing across the world as well, different time periods. You will close a site down, or you will close an artifact. So yeah, what you're seeing here is basically the rubble of the walls sort of fallen into the actual building itself.
Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of people ask me, it's like, well, you were never there. How can you tell? And it's because if you carefully excavate and you look at how stones collapse and fall, and you look at what lies beneath them. They cleaned the house out before they closed it. So somebody went around with a broom and a little sweeping brush and cleaned it completely. And then they collapsed the roof on top of it. So
interesting.
That's a deliberate act of what we call the closure. But,
okay.
I'm wondering what joy. Then you come across sites like this with the tell sites, and tell sites are just unbelievable treasure troves. I went across this one called Tel Hawa.
Where's this at?
It's in the Sinjar plain of Iraq.
Oh my gosh, that's not what Iraq looked like where I was.
Were you down south, or where were you?
I was about an hour north of Baghdad, hour and a half drive from Baghdad, depending on if we got blown up or not.
That's a great photo.
I'd like to apologize on behalf of my my Iraqi friends, but
well, I don't blame them. It's so much deeper than all that.
No politics.
This is a gorgeous photo. And what's the landscape behind it?
It's basically just rolling grasslands and really fertile pastures, and it was where the Yazidis hung out. And again, my life is just full of finding interesting things. The Yazidis, they worship. Well, they don't worship. They sort of placate Satan.
Huh.
And they have snake temples, and they believe that the world is a hell on earth. and they must protect it, and so that eventually you'll get to heaven. But that's really probably a bad version of what being Yazidi is. But they are very fascinating people. ISIS tried to wipe them out,
but they're still around.
They are still around.
Amazing.
And the fascinating fact I learned was they can't say words with sh in it, as in shaitan. Can't say that word. And the word for lettuce begins with sh, so they can't say lettuce. So never ask for a bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich.
Well, that's that's where, like, I feel like you're kind of doing cultural anthropology at the same time, right? Because you need to learn sort of things like that in order to understand the people, right?
That's true. It's true. It's that sort of experiential again.
Yeah.
Living it, and it's I kind of, again, I don't want to take the blame for this, but everywhere I went seems to have sort of dissolved into warfare. Not my fault.
Good job, David.
Thank you very much. I'm paid by the CIA for this one.
Really quick, this hill is man-made, or am I just being ignorant?
Totally man-made. It's basically mud brick building on top of mud brick building on top of mud brick building.
Okay.
Build up over time until eventually they're completely abandoned.
And so, how old is it?
Tel Hawa would go back into the Bronze Age, so maybe about 1,500 years, and it keeps on going to about 600, I think.
So they're just using the site over and over again until eventually they let it go, and that seems consistent actually with these sites, right?
And I'm crunching over cuneiform tablets everywhere, and you're going,
wow.
You go, oh my God! I'm so privileged to be these places, but
yeah, you are, man.
And I'm afraid I couldn't help it, and I'm now wrong, which is even better. But I did do it. I walked through the wheat fields, and I brushed my hands across the top of the wheat, and I turned to a fictional camera and went, "The origins of agriculture." It was here, almost 6,000 years ago. Little knowing that was going to change. Brilliant.
That's the cool part about archaeology, is new discoveries happen, that the known to the unknown, right?
Oh yeah, the known to the unknown. And the testimony of the spade is the other fabulous one.
The testimony of the spade.
You can't tell until you dig it.
Ooh.
But I'm just wandering through my lovely. This is why I fell in love with the desert. And
that looks similar to what I experienced.
I'll be a bit closer. I'm in Jordan just now, on the border of Iraq.
Okay.
And we were doing a lot of smuggling around that area at the time.
I was right on the Iranian border, basically.
Ah, right. You were other side from me, so I couldn't have waved.
Waved across space and time.
We did bump into a couple of, I think, a little patrol of special forces, British special forces.
Interesting.
And we said that way, the other way, our way.
And this just gives context to the landscape. And were there archaeological finds in this area?
There were. I mean, again, this really honed my ability to locate, shall we say? And
okay.
We use a thing called, I'm gonna get this horribly wrong as well, predictive modeling.
Okay. So
if you find a site, and there's a site right in the foreground of this photograph here, you can see how there's like a sort of circle of stones, and there was a habitation of some sort there.
On the left here.
That's the one.
Okay. Wow. Cool.
And so when you see that, then next time you see something like that, you know
what you're looking for.
You're looking for. And then you start to build up a picture of, you go, right, I'm looking for stuff like that on a slightly raised area. And then you can start to work out and predict where you're going to find stuff and where you're not. And it's actually where you're not finding stuff is really important as well. Negative evidence.
Can you use LiDAR to sort of get a big picture of this now?
Well, you see, LiDAR spoiled it for everybody.
Yeah, because you don't get the experiential thing with LiDAR, right?
That's true. But what I'm doing to people, hopefully in Selkirk, is we've got LiDAR of the valleys, and yeah, LiDAR is crucial, but you have to, what we say, ground truth.
Yes.
So get out there, walk it, and then see what it is.
Yeah, I think doing both is necessary for sure, but you could maybe pinpoint locations with the LiDAR that would be the most interesting.
You've got limited resources, limited time.
Yeah.
I'm not cheap, you know.
So you said there was a structure in the foreground. That's the one you meant. That's one that we point out here on the left. Yeah. Okay, very cool.
And when we actually excavated this, we that spread of little bits of rubble turns into a wall that's maybe about 60 centimeters wide. It was actually a Roman farmstead.
Huh.
And what was amazing, and what was truly amazing about it was, in fact, that there was this whole sequence and series of channels and canals and underground channels, kanats, which channeled any bit of water into these massive cisterns which they had under the ground, which meant that the desert was green. It was possible to make the desert green. So
that's
amazing.
Really cool. Wow.
The awesome power of the ancients, or the Romans, as I call them. But,
ancient advanced civilizations. Let's go.
Well, yeah, that's where you get into like what is an ancient advanced civilization. Like the Romans were advanced, you know, and they're ancient. The Templar civilization was obviously advanced, and they're ancient. It doesn't have to have anything to do with aliens, even though sometimes I want it to.
I'm open to it.
The word civilization it's like, wow, yeah. If you want to get, I'm going to bring up a picture. Why not? I know it's here somewhere. Aha.
Let's do it.
Right. This is a conference, a very blurry photograph of a conference in Jordan in 2013, and we're discussing these things. The Tash Templar culture, as we call it, they had buildings, and then we were using words like village, or temple, or house, or kitchen. The discussion was, well, can we actually say that?
Yeah, because what do you actually know about the culture?
And how can you say that's a house? Because by saying a house, you then start to have this mental block in your head about, I don't know, family units. You got Mummy Tash and Daddy Tash, who's got 3 little Templars.
Right, right.
You're creating that. Having a kitchen, if you look at a lot of hunter-gatherer societies, they are sharers as well as carers. They eat together. They cook together. You don't cook as a family, but then several groups will come together. So you have all these sort of, what we came to was that these are in stone prehistoric hunter-gatherer societies. If that makes sense, Atel?
It does make sense, and I think sometimes what a hunter-gatherer is gets misinterpreted, because it's very broad, sweeping term, and so I like, for example, like the hunter-gatherers in the Tash Templar region. It makes people go, what? Hunter-gatherers couldn't build that because hunter-gatherers were this, right? And they're this thing that I already have an idea of what it is, and it's, you know, nomadic people going from place to place and yada yada. But the term is very broad.
I think that's a really important bit to bring up. I mean, I've been desperate. It's I have my own problem here. Like, if I say to you hill fort, then you instantly see Iron Age warriors standing on top of ramparts, shields and everything. But hill forts, I call them banked enclosures of uncertain date and function.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Which is dull. But we as archaeologists use things like hill fort because it's a portmanteau term. But what we're really bad at doing is explaining what hunter-gatherer society is, and it's not primitive. It's incredibly complicated, and going back to the beginnings. You go back 1 million years if you want, and god damn, they were smart. They were clever. They were creative.
Mm-hmm.
Go back about, I think, I'm not very good at dates, where you first see maybe about 300,000 years ago, you're seeing sort of markings and carvings and shapes. That's hunter-gatherers, but it doesn't mean that they were stupid or primitive or idiots. They were living perfectly for themselves. And you're right, it's like, just because they're hunter-gatherers who built Göbekli and the rest of the Taş Templars, they weren't stupid. They were quite capable of doing this. They'd been doing this for quite some time before, going right back. It was it was a woman. I'm going to bring a woman in again, Kathleen Kenyon, 1950s at Jericho. And she reasoned, and this is how the archaeology brain works, she reasoned that if by 10,000 years ago, they were able to build these big walls and a tower, they had to have got to that point by going through a whole series of progressions to it. So there had to be an earlier culture which was capable of doing that.
Yeah.
So that's when you start to see the Natufians and the Taş Templar. That's them. They didn't have fields, but they didn't just sort of pick up the odd grain as they wandered across the landscape. They were clever enough to know where to go to get these grains. They probably scattered a few there. So it was, accidental agriculture, gardening, foraging.
Accidental agriculture. That's interesting. Love that.
I'm going to copyright that one.
Yeah, that's good. I'm going to steal it from you. I'm just kidding. I think that's a really interesting thought.
So we're seeing, and I mean, I saw this in Saudi as well, where we were looking at very, very early agriculture starting, and there was these bizarre things called the bunches of grapes. And what they would do is they would build little piles of stone, tiny piles of stone, maybe 50 centimeters high, next to each other, and that would collect the moisture at night, and that would allow growing around these piles of stone. Brilliant idea. I mean, incredibly imaginative.
Yes.
And it worked, but there were better ways of doing it, and so they advanced on from them. But
sure.
The problem I have with civilization is exactly the same with hunter-gatherer. If you then call Taş Templar a civilization, what do you call the Sumerians? An advanced civilization? But then what do you call the Romans? And you suddenly realize that these words that we just used so easily. I mean, watch any 80s or 90s sort of archaeology programs that say, the rise of civilization.
Yeah, I watched all that shit. Yeah.
And you're going, now we're trying to be a bit more nuanced, but it's really, really difficult to get it over without actually having people sort of claw their own face off with boredom.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because you want to get people engaged with these topics, but then when you go, it's a hill of unknown usage or whatever. It's not as fun, right? But I think that's
uncertain date and function.
Yeah, that's it. I actually think that's more fun because it leaves the imagination open.
It does. I mean, that's the thing. If I throw them, I'll throw that. Oh no, it's tiny. Back in the day, digital photographs were very, very small.
Yeah.
That is a tiny picture of Persepolis.
Wow.
I know. For another one of my sins, my second wife, she was a rug dealer, and I say that very carefully.
A rug dealer without the D?
Thank you very much.
All right, just making sure.
And we went to Iran. Yeah, my poor friends there. I know I'm doing well. And this is in Tehran buying rugs, but
what can you go back to the rugs? I'm sorry, I'm interested in the rugs. So where is this? And your ex-wife is picking up these rugs and buying them to sell them? That's her right there?
In Scotland, that's her.
That's fabulous. And what do they make these rugs out of?
It's woolen rugs, and they are, I mean, some of them take, I've got one rug. It's 5 meters by 4 meters, and it would have taken 2.5 years to make.
Wow.
And we would meet up with the different tribal people. You'd have the Kashgai, or you'd have the Turkmen, or you'd have the Kurdi, and all have different designs and all mean different things.
And there's so much meaning put into it.
And then along come the Westerners and go, I'll have that and stick that in the lavatory. Thank you.
Yeah. So you actually have one of these rugs or a similar rug at your house right now?
I do. Yeah, I'm afraid so. Even my mouse mats are one of these. But yeah, I love them because they're very hard wearing. They're almost indestructible. And they take me back to where I was, and in a landscape of, I mean, you'll know this. It's like in a landscape that is the color of, I'm trying to think of a polite thing, light brown.
Okay. Yeah.
The colors and the flowers and the animals that populate these rugs. And again, these symbols go way back, way back.
Amazing. The tradition of building the rugs and how they're built and stuff. And when a human or handful of humans spend 2 years making one rug, I feel like without getting wooed, there's so much more meaning and heart behind that besides going to IKEA and getting a manufactured rug with, like, it means so much more.
No, I mean, again, you're being experiential, I think. And it is that thing where you realize that we take so many things for granted: a pot, a rug, a carpet, even a glass of water. And when you have had to walk down to the river to get the water, to bring it back, then you start to appreciate these things. So the rug is an incredibly important part, usually given as a marriage dowry as well.
Okay. How much do these bad boys go for back then?
Depends what type you get. You can get right up to, I shouldn't tell this, but I can tell it now. The company that she was to buy for, every Christmas, we would borrow this massive Great Turkmen rug, which was this dark red with black symbols across it. Absolutely beautiful. It was about 5 meters by 4 meters, and it was worth around about 36,000 pounds.
Holy moly!
But when you break that down into 2 years of 3 women working on this one rug, you go, wow.
Yeah.
What type of symbolism were they putting on them? Like, what do you know?
Well, there's a lot of books about this, and it fascinated me. And I'm a magpie for ideas. It's how I got to where I am, in a way. I'm a magpie for ideas. And so I would look at symbolisms in, say, rock art. And then you look at symbolisms upon carpets. And there you'll see things like a thing called wusum. A wusum is a tribal mark. And you'll see that carved onto walls. And you'll see the same wusums on rugs. You'll see, and you see, you're also stuck with the same thing with a rug. You can't do a circle in a rug unless you've got a Chinese one, I suspect, because you're stuck to having to sort of weave it in. So you have to have angular shapes. So you have angular goats and angular peacocks and angular horses and angular men.
Interesting.
And then lovely flowers everywhere. And it's their vision of paradise. But it's also them telling their own story, which is, and who they are. They're just beautiful things. And
I didn't mean to get stuck on rugs, but I was super fascinated with that. That was really cool. Just because the meaning behind it, and how, I'm just going to be honest, how lucky you were to be able to even take that one for. How did you borrow it? You mean you borrowed that one?
No, well, yeah, sort of.
Okay.
Christmas decorating.
we were just removing it from the shop briefly, to make sure that it was in suitable condition for sale.
Okay.
Over Christmas.
Got it. All right, I hear you. All right, cool. That picture is amazing too, by the way.
Thank you. I mean, that's why Persepolis, the capital of the Achaemenid Empire, the place that Alexander burnt to the ground, the king of kings. And there I was standing almost alone in this place. and that's how I saw that power and that civilization. And Persian Empire was gobsmacking, and it was it was so much, everything I would like an empire to be. You could be any religion you wanted. You could be whoever you wanted. If you were in the Persian Empire, you were safe. So very, very different from like British Empire, where you are perfectly safe as long as you speak English and go to church.
And are have money.
And have money, yes.
Or status, or both.
In fact, it's a complete disaster. British Empire, blimey. It was bound to happen.
So you're saying in the Persian Empire, there was a lot of equality and stuff like that?
Yep, and rules to ensure that there was fair play amongst all nations.
Interesting.
And you had to sort of go, well, I'm part of the Persian Empire now. And that's why when he fielded the Battle of Gaugamela, when they have the massive great fight against Alexander. And in effect, he brought armies from across the empire. And that was his undoing, because he had allegedly something like 1 million troops, which was far too unwieldy. He couldn't control such a massive army, however big it was, maybe 200,000. So massive. But the people were coming from Ethiopia. People were coming from the Scythians were there. People were coming from India. All over the empire, they were coming. But what did he do? He got drunk and he burned it to the ground. But there you go.
Wow. You're literally putting me right in the place. That's amazing. And so this is at Persepolis. Did I say that? Persepolis? Yep. Okay. And what is this?
And that is one things to do when you're a royal person is hunt lions as well. And this is a lion attacking a bull, and you would nip out and you would have to fight a lion to show you were hard enough, basically.
Wow. So
I'm just glad that I'm Scottish.
Yeah.
Punch a haggis, which is a lot easier. But when you see empires and you see them grow and how they can mobilize masses of people to do unbelievable things. The roof beams for this palace came from Lebanon. The craftsmanship, and this is actually part of a massive frieze that goes up there, and there's every different type of person from the empire is bringing elephants or bringing tigers or bringing all these different exotic gifts to the King of Kings.
Wow.
Just basically the entire world all coming together for the known world. Yeah.
Peace and love, man. Peace and love.
Yeah. Wow.
But all empires fall. All empires collapse. And it's up to us to clear up the pieces. I'll tell you a story, shall I? Shall I tell you a quick story?
Please, you can tell us whatever you want.
It's again, I was in Iraq, and there was an American team working up at Nineveh near Mosul. And they couldn't believe that I was able to draw so quickly. And they asked, how did I do it? So I asked the professor, and he went, yeah, go on up and show them. And so I went up to Nineveh. And this is a story which basically cuts to the heart of everything, again, what archaeology is about. So I showed them how I did it. And they took me to this gate called the Halsey Gate, which they were excavating at the time. Now, this gateway is Neo-Assyrian Empire, Nineveh. And the massive gateway is 20 meters wide. The gate in is 20 meters wide. And somebody in around about 612 BC had filled it full of mud brick until the gap was only 4 meters wide. So something's up. And in that 4 meter wide gap, there were around about, I think, 7 or 8 skeletons still wearing their armor. Their helmets collapsed to one side. There was a horse, and there was a man who had been on the horse, and a child right in front of him.
Wow.
And you suddenly realize what you're looking at was the fall of Nineveh. That's in the Bible, the fall of Nineveh.
Yeah.
It's August 612 BC. And you have an officer who has obviously got his child, his baby. He's on a horse. The city's in flames, and he's managed to collect the last of his troops, 7 men.
Wow.
And they have got their shields ready, their spears ready. They are behind the gate, and he must have given that one, the baby's been handed up to him in the horse, and he has given that word, open the gate. And the gate opens, and they charge down this passage. They don't make it. Arrow after arrow slams into them. Fap, whap, whap, whap. Down they go. The horse goes down. And the gate falls on top of them. So they're never found, never looted.
Wow.
And you're realizing what you have there is 1 second, 1 minute of time.
Yeah.
Captured. And even now, I could show you, but I won't. I'm in goosebumps just now, even thinking about it.
Me too, dude. Me too. And you were there?
A moment.
You were literally there and found that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And at that point in time, the evening was coming down, and the smoke was coming in from the fires, the cook fires around. And so you were actually there watching this happen, unable to do anything, but watching it happen. A moment in time. And there it was, gone. And that was another end of a civilization. Neo-Assyrian Empire. Goodbye.
Wow. That's deep.
I'll give you a moment.
Well, because something like that, you nailed it, a minute or less, gates open, charge through, arrows, and done.
You will know what that feels like from, I've never been in the military. My brothers were. I'm more irregular, thank you. But that moment where it all happens, wow.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that. From my experience, it was, I don't talk about this much. I'm not going to get into detail, but it's super boring until it happens. And then when it happens, it's like very quick. And then you're left, sort of your body and your mind are kind of left processing it in real time. And time is very strange. So in those moments, so after you go back to the base and you do what's called a debrief, this might be an hour or two later, maybe 12 hours, depending on how long you're stuck on the road. You have to tell the officers what happened. And it's very difficult to do that because of how quick it happens and then how your biology reacts to something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolute. I remember that from my brothers in Northern Ireland, and how it impacted them, and how it impacts everyone. We now actually in archaeology do a thing in Britain. I'm very proud to be part of this as well, called Operation Nightingale, which is for combat veterans to do archaeology.
Oh, beautiful.
Because
that's amazing. I want to do that here in the United States.
It's a very important part because the process of doing archaeology is it slows you down.
It's about being present and mindful.
And then you turn to the person next to you and you go, and you find yourself talking. And you find that you're in a safe place that you can talk, and
you're connecting with people, and
they'll listen. And there's no judgment mainly in archaeology. I know it's fabulous. There's no judgment in archaeology unless you come on to X.
Yeah, true story.
Good to know.
But it's a very good thing. It's Operation Nightingale. It's called. Absolutely brilliant.
That is beautiful. I work in veteran mental health, and we're always my organization currently, like our main theme is connection is prevention, but prevention of suicide and isolation and stuff, but also really try to emphasize mindfulness and presence and stuff like that. And that's when people have experienced deep trauma, that's very difficult for them. So actually, I absolutely adore that idea, Operation Nightingale. I really want to hear more about that.
Check it out.
That really interests me a lot.
Operation Nightingale, MOD, a guy called something Osgood. That's terrible. He'll shout at me now. But it really, really does work, and it really helps veterans. And a lot of them become archaeologists.
Amazing.
And as you can imagine, it's like survey and detection is very good because you're keeping an eye out. Remember when I was talking about looking for tells in the landscape?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then if you're keeping an eye out for an IED, then you're looking for tells in the landscape. You're looking
True
for
story.
Wow, yeah.
So same sort of processes. And archaeology really, from Britain at least, comes out of a military nature as well.
Right. True story. That's sort of the beginnings of it.
Yeah, and we still have an officer class. You have your project officers, and we are the diggers. We are the sort of the privates. You have the sergeants who are the supervisors, and you have the majors who are the ones that sit behind the line.
Amazing.
So it is a sort of military-based thing. So it works quite well with that. Anyway, I digress, but I think it's an important digression that archaeology does so many different things, and it doesn't have to be groundbreaking. When I worked with some veterans, I was working on in fact, this place here. I've got it here. I know it is. There we are. It's a pineapple house in East Lothian, and we had kids, we had school kids, we had fabulous old age pensioners. Didn't matter who you were. We had veterans, we had students, and they all came along and took part as best they could at finding the secret of a pineapple house, an 18th century pineapple house. Where did you know a pineapple would cost you $2,000?
Wow.
In today's money.
I'm just thinking about how amazing an experience. Yeah, it must be such an amazing experience for those elderly people to be out there and, like you said, participate as best they can in the landscape, and it's so much purpose and you said, like, it doesn't. I like how you said it doesn't have to be groundbreaking. Everything you find in the ground has a story. It doesn't necessarily have to push civilization back 10,000 years or anything like that.
We did. I mean, this is another one. It's a 19th century wash house. Before people had bathrooms, you would go to the wash house where you could wash. And we had, in the space of a week, we had around about 1,000 people get involved.
Amazing.
You could walk across the bridge and you could just get involved, come down, have a dig.
Wow. And
the people of the town started talking to each other, because it was something that everybody had in common. Everybody could share. Oh, yeah, and I found this piece of pot. Oh, I know. And that's the same piece of pot that my granny had. Did she? That's amazing. Including my favorite conversation between this really drunk posh person and this really drunk, not so posh person. And the one goes, and I was going, and they understood each other. Unbelievable. But that's what I mean. You can see I get excited about this. Is what archaeology is about. It doesn't have to be finding a lost city. It's about finding people's past so that they can connect to it, and they love it. Absolutely love it.
It made me a bit emotional, my friend.
There you go.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you are. These kids helped me find rock art, and there's a big Uncle Badger with his team, and love them, and that's what it's about. It's about just being part of a community, about saying that where you come from is important. Yeah, damn right.
I totally agree. And where exactly is this, David?
That is an undisclosed location in Saudi.
Okay.
And I have fallen in love with Saudi Arabia, honestly. I fell in love with it because of two reasons. A, that they let me in, which is amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
And they seemed to like me. And it was I realized that me being there, the very presence of me was having a change.
Yes.
Because I'm talking to people and being part of the community. The often people would say that archaeologists are, you get tourists, you get locals, and you get archaeologists in the middle. So we're kind of allowed a bit of an in. And it was impossible to do a survey here without getting about 15 cups of tea and 4 crates of dates and some perfume and being invited for a wedding. You know, it was just the amount of kindness that was shown to me. And I realized that by me being there and talking to people and saying that I think that what they have here is important, and working with Saudi archaeologists made a difference. It makes people realize that there's a nice world out there as well.
Well, I'm looking at these children, and the looks on their faces, their hearts seem so full. You know, that's what you're getting at, right?
That's it. And I'm an unstoppable force of nature, sadly, as well. So.
In a good way, David.
In a good way. But it's when I was in there, I was back in my element in the desert, in possibly the best bit of desert. And the perfect thing was that after the First World War, Saudi kind of closed down just when archaeology was starting up. So Saudi closes down after the First World War, and it doesn't open up again until only about 10 years ago, really. So all the stuff I was doing in Jordan, over the border, suddenly we go into Saudi, and oh my God. I cannot tell you the amazing things. I mean, this is one of the sites that I was working on, Muazzam Fort, next to the Hijaz Railway. And yeah, these are storm clouds. I don't know if you ever had a storm in the desert. They are quite exciting, because our site went from that to, where are we? Oh, I've lost it. I have lost it. Curses. There we go.
Oh.
We were suddenly in a lake 1 kilometer wide. It was like,
wow.
I experienced that one time. Yeah. We basically had to shut down operation for like a few days, and everyone did, even the Iraqis, everyone around. Yeah.
That's why I always loved, when I was in Yemen, that was brilliant. We chew gut, which is a sort of a slight sort of stimulant type thing. And every day at 2 o'clock, artillery fire stopped and any attacks stopped, because both armies were completely off their faces on chewing gut. It was a great time. It was very peaceful in the afternoons.
Amazing. In Yemen.
In Yemen.
Wow.
But this in Saudi, because of the rains, my partner and I, my long-suffering partner who's Czech, decided to just wander about and have a look for things. And we found unbelievable archaeology. And if you really want to learn about Saudi archaeology, there is, he's called Hugh Thomas. That's it. His videos, he's got stuff on YouTube, Hugh Thomas, and the stuff that they are finding is truly groundbreaking. He is brilliant. He's a brilliant communicator. He makes me look like a gibbering idiot next to him. He's sharp. He knows what he knows, and the stuff that the Australians are doing in Saudi is unbelievable. Really brilliant work, and it's right at the edge. It's what you're getting is people who are not becoming sort of agriculturalists. They're becoming pastoralists instead.
It's a transitional period.
It's a massive transitional period. Where am I? Have I got it? And it's here you're actually looking at an ancient paleo lake to the left. And what we then found by accident, I went to a survey point. And when I was at the survey point, I saw these. And these are maybe around about 200, 180,000 year old flints from humans who have been coming out of Africa, I should say Homo sapiens who are coming out of Africa. And this is one of the routeways. And they were just there, sitting there. Exactly. You could actually see they were in a crescent. So that's where that guy had sat down and napped them. And you're going, oh my God, oh my God. Then we found the actual original place where they came from. Then you find a Neolithic farmstead. Then you find strange ibex coming out of clefts. And you're going, I can't cope with this. There's so much to find here. It's going to revolutionize our understanding of what's happening.
Wow.
Tell you. And if you see a Hugh Thomas video, they have these things called standing stone houses, and there's circles. In the middle of them, there's a vertical slab. Sound familiar? It does indeed. It's not quite T-shaped, but it's the vertical slab. It's the same symbolism. It's you're looking at people who are sharing a similar culture, which is pretty exciting.
It seems like everywhere you end up, there's just artifacts like everywhere. It doesn't seem like you like really dig for long before you're surrounded by amazing things.
It's as I say, it's like for my life, it's been I gained skills. I don't have a degree, but I gained skills. So I'm a surveyor. I'm one of the first people who created buildings archaeology in 1993. We were the first archaeologists to use photo modeling techniques back in 1994, when it was hideously clumsy. Kite cameras. We would create 3D models using kites until they came across this new thing called the drone, which was appalling. I had to glue a camera to the bottom of this sort of drone. So I seem to have been brought in. The French one said to me, "Rat," they said, "it is good having you upon our site because with you we get 4 archaeologists and only have to pay one of them."
That's an excellent French accent, by the way.
Thank you.
Amazing.
They also taught me how to swear in French, which really was a bad idea when I ended up in Paris. But
apparently, swearing in French is a whole art form, right?
Ah, putain! Qu'est-ce que c'est ça, bordel? I apologize to our French viewers here. But yeah, I mean, when I went to Sharjah, I had sort of day off, and I get bored, so I went off and I mapped every piece of pottery and stone that I could find in this plain, and found where the Sasanian tented city was. I do stuff like that. I just can't help it. I'll go and have a look and discover stuff. We were in Turkmenistan, and the Russians, the Russian taught me how to drink.
They'll do that.
Every morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, when we went to work, and they would go, choo-choo vodka, little vodka. Okay, 1 vodka. 1 vodka is lonely. 1 vodka is lonely. Make it 2 vodka. 2 vodka, thank you. 2 vodka is even number. This is evil number. 3 vodka. We have nearly finished bottle. We may as well open another. Yes. So.
Oh my.
That was before you went to work. You drunk a bottle of vodka. You would head out. You would work.
Wow.
In the evenings, we went out, and they were looking for. There's a thing called Margiana steel, which is the earliest steel known in the world. I think they're starting to find earlier stuff in India. Mm-hmm. But this was a Margiana steel, the really good stuff that ends up as Damascus steel. And nobody knew where it was made. Somewhere in this town of Merv. And I was out there one night in the evening, and I was just standing down, and I looked down, and I realized that I was standing in the middle of the furnace. So I'd made this big show of going, and I licked my finger and got the wind's prevailing from the northeast, and if the settlement's there, and if we look around about this area here, we'll probably find it. And got, oh my God, Rat, you're amazing. And
Can we start calling you Rat yet, or are we there yet?
Well, I have different names depending where I am.
Okay.
Some people know me as Rat. Some people know me as the hyena.
Ah.
Because I got a head made of stone. Because I hit myself with a pickaxe. No effect. I'm now Badger as well, because with Badger, the British Archaeological Jobs Resource, 25 years I've been doing it, 26 years. And I realized that I could make a difference for British archaeologists and European archaeologists by I advertise all the jobs in Britain.
So that's what Badger does.
It started as just doing that, and then I realized that I could actually say no to companies. No, you cannot advertise unless you pay this much. And they would say, you can't do that. And I go, well, in that case, you can't advertise. And they soon found out that people trusted me. I know. Look at the eyes.
The trusting face.
I can tell. I trust you. Both of you are very trustworthy.
I appreciate that.
I mean, that's why it's a very nice and open conversation. But yeah, trust goes a long way. And so over the years, people trust Badger, and it grew because we've now got 15,000 members. And if you don't advertise on Badger, why not? People will write me guides to pottery or lithics or archaeoastronomy or all these different topics. And there's now news, and there's the big Facebook page. And basically, we are a union and a commercial organization and the professional organization, but we are completely anarchic and independent, which is the important bit. So I've just spent my last week panicking about what the new minima will be, and to try and keep pushing up wages, because we're poorly paid in commercial archaeology for what we do. And as I say, what we do is give people pasts, give people stories. Anyway, yes.
That's so important, though, to me anyway. There's some people out there that are disconnected from that, but this is all I think about usually. And so is this at Göbekli Tepe then, obviously?
It is indeed.
Okay.
I went there 2013.
Okay.
So you'll probably notice that you might even recognize this stone.
This one?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like the one we
Say it.
it's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, me too. I can't remember either. I'm hoping you would do it. So I get away.
I see vultures, I think.
That's the one. And these are the handbags, but they're not handbags. They're houses.
They're houses?
Okay.
Because if you go to the Syrian Haran, or the house I showed you earlier, it's a semi-subterranean, slightly above, domed roof. You enter from the top as well. And you have that sort of feeling I'm looking at houses. Because as a bag, it would be a bit crap because your handle's at the wrong end. But
is it Pillar 43?
That's the one. Thank you.
Yeah. I cheated. I looked it up, but still.
But that's the one. And this is again the important bit about. I like telling stories. So did they. And these are all really important to them. And this is where I feel frustration. This is, as me as an archaeologist, I feel the frustration, because I would love to go back in time and sit there and just listen to. I was once in Damascus, and I sat down, and there was a storyteller, and everyone gathers around the storyteller, and he is dramatic and his arms are waving, and he tells a story and people are enraptured by it. And that's what was happening. They're telling a story, and it's so frustrating not to know what the story was. So you know how at Karahan Tepe they have the fabulous. There's two animals on either side of the man who is rather excited.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the story there? They know it. They know that story. And what I don't mind, and I don't mind people coming up with their own interpretation. Fine, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It's not right, though. So anyone that tells you that they know what the story is, it's not right. But you can have your own view. You can have your own interpretation of it.
That's exactly how I feel.
I feel like it's refreshing to hear an archaeologist say that. Like, I feel like the archaeologists we're hearing from that are right in your face are like trying to hang on to something.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like it's a difficult one. We both know and don't know.
Right. Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
We have probably the better chance to sort of say, if you look at this and this and this, and we know all the different parts, then it's reasonable to assume blah 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 blah.
Yes.
And archaeologists hate being pinned down to an actual yes, no, or this is. We often say probably or perhaps or stuff like that. And so therefore, like, the vulture stone. Vultures are usually connected with death. So it's reasonable to assume that it's something to do. And then you also look at the symbolism, like the animals on either side of a person. And you see that again and again and again and again, over and over. And it's reasonable to assume that is probably the same story. I don't know. Am I right in thinking there's only 7 stories in the world? 7 core stories.
What do you mean?
That there's only 7 stories you can have, and it's like boy meets girl, girl meets boy.
Right.
Okay.
Something, a big flood. Blah, blah.
So if you go on Netflix or whatever, pretty much you're going to see the same archetype. 7 or whatever archetypes of stories over and over and over again. Yeah.
I was very disappointed. I watched Terminal List. And I watched Jack Reacher, and I realized I was watching the same story.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And so you end up, the Magnificent Seven is another story which you'll see again and again and again. And I don't see it as it's because, in a way, these are the stories that impact us as humans, and so therefore we keep coming back to them. It doesn't mean that somebody rode across, got to get to America, tell them about the Magnificent Seven. Get to Japan, right? But we have these sort of ancestral stories, if you want to, for want of a better word, because these are the stories that humans tell. There's not many stories. How you tell them can be completely different. So therefore, I know that when they were telling the story of the man with the in Göbekli Tepe, that wouldn't be the same story that they told in Denmark 12,000 years later about the Gunstrup cauldron, and it wouldn't be the same story as all these different images. There'd be different stories on the same theme. If you want to go to floods, it's the same thing as well. There's a lot of talk about there's a flood, and it's like, well, I've learned enough from. In fact, I look out my window, and we've got flood defenses here. So floods happen on rivers. People live on rivers. When I was at Ur and up at Nineveh, there were floods. That's what happens on these floodplains. So it's pretty devastating if you live on a floodplain. So you tell a story of what happened when the flood came, the bad flood. And it happens again and again. And it's a shared human experience as opposed to a shared single event. Whew, got that one out.
Yeah. The idea of the great flood caused by a major global catastrophe. What do you think about that?
Well, I've actually, I'll be honest with you on this one. I've watched the Younger Dryas. I mean, Younger Dryas is a thing. It happened.
Yeah.
There's no doubting that, and I can absolutely accept that. What happened to the people? I know that people around about 22,000 years ago were starting to meet in Jordan. We've got them meeting there. And around about 15,000 years ago, you're starting to see people building more permanent structures to live in. And the younger Dryas has an impact, but I don't think it was an impact. If you see, what I'm trying to do is say that the actual climatic changes impacts humans and how they interact with what they have to do to survive. As I say, they're smart. If there had been a massive global catastrophe, we would see it. And it would show up more than just a few nanodiamonds in a possible black layer. You would see a discontinuity in cultures. You would see a change. I mean, I can only speak for my areas, sort of Europe and Middle East. But what I don't see is a change in culture. So I don't see a people suddenly having to deal with a massive catastrophe. I see people changing to deal with a gradually encroaching climatic change, which is what we're dealing with now. We just don't want to accept it. But we don't have to have a Bruce Willis moment. We can realize that 2 centimeters a year rise in sea level is actually pretty bad, and the fact that we have wetter, some places have much wetter summers and drier winters is pretty bad. I would like to see it on a longer scale, but I am seeing that winters are becoming different from when I was young.
Oh, for me, definitely for me, yeah.
Summers are becoming different.
Yeah. I grew up in Nova Scotia, and when I was a kid, I had a lake. I had 7 lakes within walking distance. I used to play hockey and stuff on the ice when it froze. I'd have to check the newspaper, and there was they'd have a little report letting you know if the ice was deep enough. Now they're not really. That rarely happens in the winter. Kids aren't doing that like they should. I need to just divert quick. If you were there in 2013, did you meet Klaus Schmidt?
I didn't. I was actually supposed to bloody work for him. And then the year that he died was the year I was going to work for him.
Which was the next year that you were there. I think he died in 2014 or 15, something like that.
Yep. I'm going back. I'm aware terribly of the time. I seem to have talked for an awful long time.
Oh, you're good. We have a good 10-15 minutes to wrap up. But I just have, so you were recently about to go on a trip, and we were going to wait to do this interview.
True.
And I wanted to hear a little bit about that, like what happened, because with the global stuff going on, it was something to do with that.
It was. I mean, this is after the Iraq War, I headed off to this place, United Arab Emirates, and to Ras Al Khaimah, which is the emirate that doesn't have oil at the very top. And there, I mean, there's a great example. They were able to move a massive, great boat with 6 people and a capstan, and eventually me. But I fell in love with Ras Al Khaimah because it was an untapped, beautiful place. So from 1991, I would go back. We found a lost Sasanian city. We excavated a trading port. We discovered where the Portuguese blew up people. The Albuquerque, what an evil man he was. I'd like to get into him more, but Ras Al Khaimah is where this is all happening. And I would go back again and again, and we recorded all the towers in Ras Al Khaimah, and eventually went back and where was the last time? Oh no, I hate it when. There we go. What a dashing figure that you have here.
Wow.
Wow.
We decided to record all the architecture before it melts.
Wow.
So myself and my partner started recording all the architecture. We recorded the castle as well.
How does it melt from the climate change?
Yeah, I mean, it's just basically gets rained on. In fact, there's no there now, which is bizarre. So they just dissolve eventually.
Yeah.
What on earth was this? What do you have any idea what this structure was?
It was part of this is called the Lower Castle of Daya. And it's really, really important to the people of Emirates because British again. Sorry, it's our fault. 1809, we got upset about them being pirates. To them, they were actually just trying to protect their own interests because it was the British that were the interlopers, not them.
Right.
So the British sent overwhelming force and East India Company. It's all very sort of Jack Sparrow type stuff. And they eventually destroy the Russellhamans at this place at Daya by the scurvy dogs dragged a massive great cannon across a marsh and then blew it up, which was not fair.
The erosion reminds me of the Sphinx.
What do you think about that? The Robert Schoch and the erosion on the Sphinx, if you wouldn't mind.
Very quickly, it's like he's both right and wrong. Bizarrely, I did geology at school and I did geology at university when I turned up, and I've been to the Sphinx, I've been to the pyramids, and I looked at this, and it's like it's really, really interesting because geologically speaking, yes, it's possible to actually happen in around about that sort of time period, the conventional-ish time period. It's possible, but you also have to remember that there's different types of limestone here. So the head is made up of a much harder limestone than the rest of the body, which is why I got shocked when I saw it for the first time. Shocked as in shocked, not shocked. Because I didn't realize that, in fact, it was completely the body is actually built, not it's basically just an oblong of really crap limestone, but it's built to look like the body of a sphinx. And then you look at actually how the entire Giza plateau is. So it's possible to actually have lots and lots of rain, and it creates the runnels that you see, but the actual cutting of the Sphinx is conventional. Now, I will actually agree that I think, along with some other people, that it's maybe a few hundred years older. I think there is a bit of a tyranny of king's lists where you have to sort of join stuff together, and it's brilliant for us. So you can go Cleopatra, you can actually link that to Roman. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Go or Cleopatra the Fifth, is she, or sixth, or whatever she was? You can link that really, really tight in. But as you go back, it becomes a bit more whiffly. So there is, I would say, there's wiggle room, and I also think that and we have this problem time and time again with dating. We have to use radiometric stuff as well, and carbon-14 it can be a problem if you've got a culture which is making a massive project like this. So the dates of the Giza pyramid, there was lots of C14 done on it, and it was much earlier. But they are basically burning Granny's, wheelchair, every piece of wood. The amount of mortar required to build that place is just like. Have you stood in front of the pyramids at all?
No, just some of the ones in Mexico, but not those ones. It's a dream of mine.
If you've done if the Teotihuacan.
I've done not Teotihuacan, but shoot.
That one.
Chichen Itza.
Imagine, but it's like when you stand in front of this, it's just this huge. You do not get an idea of scale from a photograph. They're just unbelievable. And it's like it's amazing what you can do when you're a god king.
Yeah, you explained that earlier with that empire, the Persian Empire, bringing everyone together, all on the same goal and mission, all believing in the same, thing, and then you can accomplish like amazing things, right?
Yeah, and I think if I have any take from it, in all my, I've been down caves, I've been across deserts, I have been shot at, stabbed at, I've been up pyramids, down holes, everything. And I'm just amazed at humans and what they are capable of, no matter where they are. But when it comes to it, it's like they lived, they loved, they ate, they slept, they smiled, they laughed. I've dug 100, 200, 400 humans in my life, and each one of them had a story to tell. Each one. Each building I dig has a story to tell. I don't mind if it's the earliest site I've done is about 2.5 million years old. Not 2.5 million, sorry.
250,000.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I have just been working on a site which is 19th century, and I love it just as much. The stories it tells me of people living. So
tell us about the 250,000 site that you worked on. Where is that, and what were you doing there? Who were those people?
That was unfortunately a very brief one in Jordan Desert. Okay. And it was, we are again recording, and it was unbelievable. The desert tar polish upon all the tools lying exactly where they had lain. And these are not Homo sapiens either. Whoever it was not Homo sapiens.
That's so amazing to me.
And it's just you have to, being an archaeologist is quite tough sometimes, because you just want to pick up stuff and you go, no, I have to photograph it, record it. I have to get the plastic bags out. I have to plan it. I have to do all these things. And it's a discipline. You have to be really disciplined. The desire is to just pick it up but that's where I'm slightly, don't think autistic, but I have a certain specialness about me. I love lists. I love telling stories, and that helps me in my archaeology.
Yeah.
But I really, really love making lists and getting the hard data and making sure that the data that I get can be handed out to everybody to use. And after that, I can imagine what happened next. And just yesterday, I was at, we were doing a project with a community, and it was bad. It was cold, and they did geophysics, but we had them field walking the rest of the place. And then suddenly somebody went, Roger, over here. And it was like, they showed me this arrowhead, snapped in half. And I went, that's a Neolithic leaf arrowhead, and we're talking around about 3,000-4,000 years old. And and I said, I want you to imagine somebody probably pulled back. They're near their houses. I knew there was houses nearby. Pulled that, fired at a target, and it hit a tree and snapped. And boy, would they got a slap. And then my partner quite rightly said, you just made that up. And I went, I know, but it could have happened, and it is a Neolithic arrowhead. So.
Yeah, and that's the difference between the sort of the imagination coming together with the actual data and what you find, and that's okay. That's part of it. I guess what I wanted to add, I guess the last question is like reflecting on 40 plus years in archaeology, is there a key lesson that you want to share with everyone in relation to that?
I am. I mean, this goes to archaeologists as well as alternative researchers, archaeology, whatever you want to call them. It's something that's said around, and it's not understood. It's be curious, but be critical of everything that you do, and don't just take anything at face value, but look at it critically, and then research. I was loving the program on earlier, and you're talking about bumblebees and scarab beetles.
Mm-hmm.
And it was brilliant, because you know what it made me do? It made me find out why and how and what do other people think. And I pulled together I didn't just go to the first one. I went and had a look at other reports as well, other articles. And what I discovered was mind-blowing.
Fabulous.
Really interesting. So the thing I would like to get over is, if I tell you that Göbekli Tepe is da-da-da-da, and this is that, and the pyramid is that. And you go, I don't believe you. And I'll say to you, okay, have a look at these things. Then go and do that. Go and have a look and learn about it. And once you sort of start to learn about it, then you're making it a thing called the informed choice, the informed idea about it. And that doesn't stop. I love Stargate.
It's one of my favorite all-time shows. Yeah,
I absolutely would love the end of 2026 for the middle pyramid to suddenly erupt out of the ground and join up with the mothership. How cool would that be?
When that happened at basically the last scene in season 1 of Stargate SG-1, I was like this. And at the time, it was on DVD, so I immediately jumped in my car, drove to the mall, and went and bought season 2. And each season cost $60 at the time. So yeah,
I'm pretty sure
I would love that too.
Happen, but it's brilliant that it could happen.
Yeah, I hope it does. Matt Bell is currently funding like the Queen's Chamber and the Big Void, and yeah, he is on my show. Super nice guy, super curious guy. I think the quote for you got so many quotable things in this conversation, and I feel like I could talk to you for another 2 hours. But we'll end with be curious, but be critical. I think is just huge. It's simple, but it's important. I have my I want to believe poster up there but it's to remind myself that like I'm curious and I want things to be true, but I have to be critical as well. So
I will change my mind on a penny like that. As soon as anything changes it, yeah.
My motto is seek truth, not proof.
Ooh.
And that keeps me on the right track.
Is there not an Indiana Jones quote from that as well?
Is there? That wouldn't surprise me.
there might be. That's why she's Indonesia Jones.
I do know.
I got it from somewhere.
she's done a lot of work with the teams out there in Indonesia. David, I've said this only probably 3-4 times, but I think this is my favorite episode of the show. And I mean that truly because, well, one of the reasons why is because sometimes I get put in the alt or pseudo category because I talk to these people and I like them and I like learning from them and stuff like that. But I'm not anything, I'm really just want to learn. And one of my takeaways is archaeology for veterans. I think that is amazing. And I'd like to offline talk to you a little bit more about that. And maybe that's something I could do here and set something like that up here, because that's, because it marries two things that are near and dear to my heart. And it involves healing and involves bringing people together. And that's kind of what I try to do with my show, and that's what I hope this episode does, David. So I'm super grateful for you, man. Thank you so much for joining the multiverse.
I have had such a fun time that 2 hours has gone.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like generally, like right now, some of the louder archaeologists are giving the rest of you guys a bad name and making it seem like you're really closed-minded and not open to new ideas and things changing. And speaking with you has really broadened my horizons, that like that's not the majority. It doesn't sound like in actuality. Those are just the ones with the biggest mouths. So
it's as anywhere, people who shout the loudest are the ones that are heard. The quiet voice, and that's why I was really, really happy to be on this, because I at first was panicked that I would be ambushed. No, I would be dragged into some sort of concept about aliens on Mars or.
No, dude, that's not what I do on this show. Is all about bringing people together and building connections and rapport and relationships, and so I'm glad that I was able to dispel that. Maybe it'll convince some more of your colleagues to talk to me.
I have told people I'm going to be here, and they went, "Oh my God!" Yeah, they went, "That's fine." And they went, "Just be yourself."
That's what I do. That's what I do. That's what Megan does. And I think we got a really cool team. So I really would love to talk to you again, because I know you had a shitload of pictures that I could have been like asking you questions about for the next 4 hours. But we have to literally go live about pyramids on Mars in about 25 minutes. And Megan's got a Star Trek episode or a Star Trek outfit she's going to put on. It's going to be fun. I
feel I should watch this, but
going live shortly.
Going live shortly.
Enjoy. It's been brilliant. I'm very happy to come back.
Oh yeah, well, we're gonna do this again in a couple months at minimum. This episode will drop in a few weeks. But again, super gracious, super grateful. You see, you're a funny, kind-hearted man. One thing I wanted to say is I want to talk to you more about this too. But I love how you're bringing you emphasize women's perspective in archaeology, and that's one of the things I want to talk to you about more as well. So
I also need to book a one-on-one meeting to talk about the work that I'm trying to do, and you seem like you'd be the perfect person to talk to.
Oh, I can bring you women. Yes, definitely.
Woohoo! Let's do it.
Okay, David, nothing but love, my friend. This episode will drop in a couple of weeks. We'll talk soon, okay?
Take care. Thank you again, both of you.
Thank you.
Subscribe to Dave's Multiverse on YouTube, Spotify, and Rumble today.